Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, cha, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jeddy. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show, letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, Audible, Castbox, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana, Himalaya, wherever you find your favorite shows. We indeed have fascinating guests for you today. First up, he is the Hollywood star who plays characters that are so evil it makes his mom cringe. Jed Bernard. He lets us see his sweet side as he celebrates his debut children's book, Jeddy's Teddy. Later in the show, we meet the incredible team from Emerson College's On the Same Page Boston initiative. Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. We are recording this interview Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, early in the morning out in LA, where our guest is. He's here to celebrate his brand new picture book. It's called Jeddy's Teddy. Please welcome to the show, Jed Bernard. My friend, what a great name.
Yeah, indeed. What brilliant name indeed, Jed. Yes, indeed. Thanks for having me on, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. This could be very, well, you have a very distinctive voice, so I don't think people are going to confuse us at all, but we'll just be talking Jed to Jed during this conversation.
Sounds good. All right, yeah.
Tell us about Jeddy's Teddy, please.
Well, so this book has been in my mind for quite some time, and I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger and get it going. And I wrote it in July of this year, and I went ahead and hired a wonderful illustrator to go ahead and make the picture book as well. And lo and behold, it is ready. I dropped it on October 11th on Amazon, and it is a true story about me as a child getting my teddy bear when on the eve of my 4th birthday. So true story. This is my teddy bear. This is Tommy Teddy Bear. He's 43. He looks great. And yep, I made sure my illustrator would be spot on with the aesthetics of my teddy bear. So he looks just like he does now. You know what I mean, in the book. So yeah,
that's wonderful. And he looks quite dapper too.
You know, he is an actor sometimes, I suppose, and he moisturizes a lot. But yeah, I mean, I've had him in my closet, my parents' closet for about 30 years. And I went a couple of years back to my parents' house, and they said, Jed, it's time for you to clean out all your old stuff out of the closet. We want to put our stuff in there now. So lo and behold, I found him. He was just sitting in the corner of one of my top shelves in my closet. I'm like, I got to bring him back to LA. So he's been with me for about 7 years here in Los Angeles. And, yep, he's my boy. He's my best friend still to this day. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's amazing how attached kids can be to their stuffed animal.
Absolutely. And, I feel that, For me, I was kind of a loner as a child. I had a speech impediment. I couldn't say my ahs and my eths. So I was kind of alone a lot. And once I got my Tommy teddy bear, he was my best friend. And being able to have imagination, using imagination, the concept of imagination is for kids these days now is a little different because of the internet, iPads, iPhones, all that, all those tablets and stuff. But for me, being an 80s kid, this guy, I went on a lot of adventures with him. And with books as well, you can use your imagination as a child, and you can go anywhere you want with them. And books help with that. Yeah. And so do your stuffed animals, in my opinion. Yeah.
It's interesting. You're right. Kids today, because of technology, which can be wonderful. I mean, here we're 3,000 miles away. We're on different sides of the continent. We're able to see and talk to each other. So technology in that sense is wonderful. But it has taken away some of the need to be creative for little kids. Kids don't get bored these days. They have all these flashy things, and boredom is a place where a lot of great ideas are born.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I feel that, even as adults now, we're inundated with all this stuff with the social media and tablets, all that stuff. Kids even more so too, especially if they're going to school and they're learning stuff on their tablets and whatnot. And that quiet time, that stillness is something sacred, I think. I'm not a child right now, but I do value my quiet time, and with books and story time with parents reading. That's an amazing time for kids to kind of get grounded and focus on books and their imagination, and let that run free and wild, because it's important.
It's very, very important. I didn't mention the fact that Jed is a well-known actor, television and movies, and so becoming a children's author, this is a different type of storytelling. Was it difficult for you transitioning from telling stories through acting to telling stories through the written word?
That's a great question. For me, I have more control with writing my story versus being part of a TV show that's on a network where, I show up and I'm in hair and makeup and I got to read the script, and my lines just got changed last minute, so I have to memorize these right now. And, I might be a mean character where I'm a bad guy. So that might be bad for people seeing me in a bad, scary, character. For this, as a writing, I was able to control my narrative and control what I wanted to put out there to the world, and it being a true story and having a good, positive, concept and takeaway for people. That's what I wanted to do, and I really enjoyed being a writer because writing this, I had that control, and I could control the narrative and share my story, my true story with my teddy bear to the world, with my control, not having to worry about network approval or director's approval or, writer's approval or whatnot. It's mine, and it's really special. So I'm proud of it, and I'm really happy that people can read my story and it can bring joy to them as well.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that whole idea of control, being in control. I've made a living doing educational magic shows for 35 years, and occasionally I've been invited to, be part of a troupe or a team, and that's wonderful. But it's not quite the same as just being able to get out there on stage or behind a keyboard and just be in control of everything, or at least most of everything.
As they say, what's too many cooks in the kitchen? Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of people are going to, experience that today, considering it's Thanksgiving as well. But yeah, when there's so many collaborators and stuff, sometimes what your goal is might get distilled down or might be compromised, So yeah, like you said, it's important, that if you can control your own stuff, like your own book or your own magic show without any other collaborators, That's awesome. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me when you were young, were there any favorite books that you and Teddy would read together?
Yeah, like I remember as a child, Where the Wild Things Are was one of the classics, that was spectacular as a kid because, you know, I'm in my 40s, so, I have to remember when I was a kid, but some of the happiest times, in my childhood was in my bed when my parents read to me because in my bed, that was the safe place. That's where I could sleep, I could dream. I had Tommy next to me, and my parents would read me a story where I could just hear them. And if I didn't know what a word was, I would ask them, what does that word mean? And they would, explain it to me. So I would learn vocabulary words more so, with their help, more so than, through school sometimes. And I just felt that, yeah, as a kid, your bed is a sacred place, and what a great place to read books and stuff. So to answer your question, Where the Wild Things Are was really a very spectacular one, in the Dr. Seuss books as well. But I think that Where the Wild Things Are was really, really resonated with me as a child because I felt like I was that wild kid. And I felt, God, wouldn't that be nice for me to just run and go to the forest and be by myself, and not have to worry about parents and be wild with all these wonderful creatures, and that's where the imagination started. It kind of planted the seed for me as a child to like think about, oh wow, I can teleport myself to a whole different reality with imagination and with the help of books, so yeah, that was my favorite book as a child. And yeah, but Teddy's my favorite now. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to plug, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's interesting that you had these beautiful memories and of bonding with your parents. And, one of the things we talk about is if you read to your kids 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, every day, that by the time they get to kindergarten, they will have heard over 800,000 more words than their peers who weren't read to. And what a gift that is. Now, as the author of Jeddy's Teddy, there are going to be families, there are going to be kids snuggled up in their beds or cuddled up with their parents on the couch reading your story. Have you taken the time to think about that yet?
I have, in fact, just this last weekend, I went to a family function, and I gave one of my cousins, his daughter, she's 3, and I gave her a signed copy to her, and she jumped for joy, and I almost started crying, tears of joy, like, oh my God, like this little kid is so happy because I gifted her, my story, and like, oh my God, the feeling of just happiness and gratitude, being thankful for that, and being able to give that to seeing a kid smile and laugh and be happy about a book that I wrote is like, oh my God, wow, it's like a chicken noodle soup for the soul in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it brings me joy. Like I've had a couple of crazy near-death experiences with car accidents and whatnot, and I tell you, life is very short, and we are so lucky to be able to be alive every day. We can breathe and read and see, and this book is important because I wanted to get that out there for the world to see, and for me to share a little bit of my soul with people, with parents and kids. And God, if it can make them put a smile on a kid's face with the story that I wrote, it's priceless right there. You know what I mean? It's just, It's really special.
That's awesome. You mentioned earlier that you had a speech impediment, as I did, and a lot of times people tell me, like, wow, you went from that, now you're talking all the time, you're on stage doing podcasts. What about you? You'd imagine a lot of folks with speech impediments, the last thing they want to do is to get out in front of people and speak, even if they've recovered from it. What do you think was it that motivated you to get into performing and being on stage?
Well, I grew up on a walnut ranch up in Northern California, and my backyard was like 100 acres of walnuts. So I had these rows and rows of walnuts to just use my imagination with pretending I'm playing a soldier right now. I got to run and hide behind a tree because the bad guys are going to get me, or I got to run away from the werewolf. So I had all these imaginative scenarios that I played out as a child, and going through speech class and handling my speech impediment. I gained, with the help of my teachers, thank you teachers for helping me, gave me the confidence to say, hey, I have a voice and I have something to say. Mm-hmm. And I just felt that, as a kid, the older I got, the more I really loved, all the Star Wars, shows and Indiana Jones. And, as a kid, I knew, God, I want to be an actor. I want to be a storyteller. I want to share stories with people. I want to entertain people because I felt so good. I felt so happy, being entertained, watching TV shows and movies and whatnot as a child. I felt how awesome would that be for me as an adult to entertain people as well, like how I felt as a kid. Mm-hmm. So I just felt that, I overcame a lot of obstacles as a child. And, with the help of teachers, I tell you, teachers are the best because they can really, they're mentors. I was fortunate enough to have two wonderful parents, raising me as well. But parents are parents. But when there's a third party that sees you and sees your talent and wants to nurture your talent to help you become the best version of yourself, like that's priceless, So, yeah. So thumbs up to all the teachers out there watching this. So they're so helpful and so important to children, in my opinion. Yeah.
Was there one teacher in particular that you remember that really made an impact on your life?
Oh gosh. I think, there are, I think Miss Wolf, she got married, Miss Husner, once she got married. She was my third grade teacher, and she was also a music teacher as well. And I played the piano. My parents made me play the piano, and she helped me get my singing down. And she was kind of like my voice teacher. She helped me learn how to sing properly, which also boosted my confidence because I could carry a tune and I could sing all the classics from the 60s that my parents, like the Beatles and all that. And a lot of my peers really, thought that was neat that I was able to go up to, for the Wilson School talent show and sing. That really made me feel kind of like a celebrity in a way in my grade school. Uh-huh. That makes sense. And that just, helped feed my desire to entertain people more and more. And then lo and behold, here I am now.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. I remember my third grade teacher, Mrs. Watanabe. They took us to the Arnold Arboretum here in Boston in the spring, and me and my buddies were running through the bushes and the flowers and everything. And I came out. I didn't realize that I had hay fever, and I came out of the bushes, and my eyes were all blown up, and they were running. And she saw me looking like a monster, and she started screaming and running away.
Oh no! Oh boy! Oh boy! She saved you though. Did she save you?
She did take care of me after she stopped being afraid of me.
That's funny. Oh, yeah, that's funny.
One of the things that I hear from parents is that, my kid, they want me to read this book the 500th time. And we just had a guest on talking about how important that is. And one of the things I say to parents is, you read the book, but you don't have to read it the same way 500 times. You can do the voices and you talk, do it in a sad voice one way and an excited voice another way. Can you talk a little bit about how parents might be able to put a little bit more, become a little bit more animated as they're reading stories?
Oh, yeah. So it's important. Voices you have your voice, I have my voice. And it's important, as we see with cartoons and everything else, growing up watching Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all the all the Looney Tunes characters, Tom and Jerry, all them, they all have the distinctive, unique voices. And I think it's important for sure for, there's 4 different characters in my particular book. But yeah, if parents can change it up, maybe making the voices, higher pitch for Tommy, maybe, lower pitch, as like for the father character, or, higher pitch for the mother character. I mean, it's important to change it up, because when kids, obviously, when they hear that, they're going to notice a change. And especially if they're half asleep, it'll probably wake them back up and have them pay more attention to the actual story, and then even help get their imaginative, process going even more so, because, oh, wow, I never thought this particular character could speak like this, like even doing doing a character with a different accent, maybe with an English accent, or maybe even an Italian accent. It doesn't matter, hey, or even a Bostonian accent, or over there in the Boston Yard. I mean, why not change it up? Have fun with that, as parents, because you are entertaining your child and giving your child so much love just by giving them the attention, by reading that book to them, like that's priceless.
Yeah. I'm really happy that you said that, because it is true. Even when our kids are a little bit older and they tell us that they hate us and we're always making their life miserable and all that other stuff, the reality is that they love us and we are their first and most important teacher, and they want our attention. And for the most important person in their lives to put down everything and to take that 15, 20 minutes a day to sit down and read and dedicate themselves and shut off the phone and just be with the kids is so very important and empowering. Jed, what kind of conversations do you think families can have as they're reading Jeddy's Teddy together?
Well, so, this book is about me. On the eve of my 4th birthday, a couple days beforehand, I wound up getting the flu. I'm all clicked up because we ordered a piñata I was going to have a big party in the backyard with all my friends in the summertime for my 4th birthday party, but I wind up getting the flu and it gets canceled for me. And it's the worst day of my life as a child, Here you have these high hopes and the plans of having the best birthday ever, and then you can't do it because you're sick. Like, it was, you're at the basement of your feelings. You just feel terrible. But yet you learn sometimes life throws you curveballs, and you gotta just adapt to it and roll with the punches. And no matter what, it's going to be all right. And, my story is my mom and dad wound up giving me a teddy bear, as a consolation prize, on the eve of my birthday, because I couldn't go out and be with my friends because I'd probably get them all sick with the flu. So, even though plans don't always go according, to the way you want them to, you have to learn to adapt and understand it's going to be all right, no matter what. So I think parents can talk to their kids about, how, sometimes there's certain plans. Let's say, you want to go camping, but, oh no, it's going to be raining. So you got to cancel the camping trip. So that's okay. You can go do something else. Maybe go bowling. Like, no matter what, there's always going to be, some hiccups in life, and that's okay. That's how life is. And the takeaway is, no matter what, it's going to be all right. And you just got to understand that, and it's not the end of the world. And, you can talk about, well, let's do something else instead. If we can't do this, then if we can't do A, let's do B or C or D, So I think it's a good conversation piece after reading this book with children on teaching them and understanding how, it's okay, if plans don't go the way you want them to. It's going to be all right. You got to go with the punches.
Such an important lesson that being able to be resilient and bounce back and, don't give up. And I love that. That is a really important message and lesson for kids. Jed, you've been in loads and loads of great productions on the screen. Is there one favorite production or one favorite character that you played over the years?
Well, I mean, I'm currently doing a limited series called Dying for a Living, where I play a kind of a tough guy, kind of an assassin guy with a heart of gold. So this is another reason why I wrote this book, because we've shot so far 3 episodes already out of 5 of them, and it's available on Amazon to rent. But my mom, after she watched the first episode, she said, "Oh, Jed, I hate your character." I'm like, "Mom, what are you talking about? You're so mean. You're such a mean guy." I'm like, "Mom, I'm only acting. You know, I'm a big teddy bear." She's like, "I know that, but what if people think, you know, you're like that in real life? Can't you maybe do a comedy next, or maybe write a children's book?" And I was like, "Oh, all right, Mom. All right, I'll write my children's book. Okay, now will you be happy now? So people can know I have a soft spot. I'm actually a nice guy." So, yeah, I think the Dying for a Living TV show that I'm also I'm the lead actor and I'm also a producer on. That's been my favorite because I'm able to show a little bit of a different side of me. I'm a real nice guy. This is me in real life, but being able to act and be a mean guy, that's always a nice thing. I'm able to push the envelope and whatnot. So, yeah, Dying for a Living is probably my favorite one because I am the complete 180 of who I am now in real life. Yeah.
That's awesome. We'll have to check it out. One of the things, I was working with a young person about 10 or 15 years ago, and they're very, very talented. And I was giving her some encouragement, and the thing that she turned to me that just kind of blew me and the other adult that was working with us away was she didn't care that her performance was being praised or that we're recognizing her skill. It was like, "Do you think I'm going to be famous?" And you've reached a certain level of fame, and there are a lot of kids out there that want to be famous. What's the downside of being out there in the public eye that we might be able to help our kids understand that it's not all roses?
Yeah. Well, you know, as an actor, I have to deal with rejection all the time. Like it's frustrating where you're up for a TV show that you would be a series regular in, where it would make your career and you'd be set, and you wind up not getting it because maybe you were too tall or your hair's not blonde. You have green eyes instead of blue eyes. Like, it's really weird how Hollywood is when it comes to that. Fame is an interesting thing. I don't think, it's not really all that it's cracked up to be either. I mean, by no means am I famous at all. I mean, if you Google me, you'll see me on red carpets and stuff, and on Sundance and AFI film festivals and stuff. But like I tell you, I think people, you gotta deep dive and know what you want to do in life. You just can't, not you, but people, you gotta do what you want to do, and not because, I want to be famous. No, you can't do that. It's not, that's a dangerous road, because it's not worth anything. If you want to be a painter, if you have a passion to paint, then do that. And if you do something you love, success is just gonna follow suit for sure. If you love doing a certain thing, and I've been in Los Angeles for 20 years, and I told my parents, okay, in 5 years, I had my 1 year, my 3 year, my 5 year goal, and I realized, success, it's a journey. It's not an end point, and you have to continue fighting for what you love and what you believe in, and you have to be resilient and understand that you're going to always deal with rejection and stuff, especially in my industry. So I learned, you know what? It's okay. That wasn't for me. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to love yourself, and you have to be your own personal cheerleader, because in life, there's a lot of people that are a lot of naysayers. A lot of people, why do that? Oh, you're crazy. Why are you doing this? But people judge you based on their lives. They haven't put themselves in your shoes, like, I lived in Europe for 2 years. I lived in Mexico for 3 months. Like, I'm a world traveler and stuff, and I speak a few different languages. And a lot of people try to tell me what I should do in my career, but they've never left the country. They've never been exposed to culture outside of California or, the U.S. And it's just funny how everyone has an opinion on things, but at the end of the day, you got to be honest and truthful to yourself. You know what I mean? So, So to answer your question about the whole fame thing, for kids, you got to find what you love and go for it. And if you love it that much, you'll become successful and you'll find your fame through that. But don't be focusing on, how do I get famous? That's not good. That's a bad thing. And that's not going to satisfy your soul, That makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jed, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about you and find out more about Jeddy's Teddy.
Awesome. Okay. Well, so Jeddy's Teddy is available on Amazon, in the paperback as well as Kindle. And, and then I have the link on my Instagram, which is, at Jed_Bernard. I also have my acting stuff there as well, but I have a link to, you folks can double click and check out the book, through Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, but I don't really utilize that often. I think it's Jed Bernard as well. But, and then if you want to see any acting stuff, you can go on IMDb and look for Jed Bernard and you'll find me. Yeah.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Jeddy's Teddy. It's a debut picture book from our guest, Jed Bernard. Jed and Tommy, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for bringing me on.
Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. My friends, I am so excited. As many of you have heard, I've had some amazing young people intern for the podcast, and 99% of them have all attended Emerson College here in Boston. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing a wonderful team from Emerson College. They're called the On the Same Page Boston team. Please welcome to the show first the professor, Catherine Edelstein. Catherine, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having us.
And did I pronounce your name right? I typically...
You did.
Excellent. Yeah. That was a lucky guess. Also joining us from Boston is Hazel Fitzpatrick. Hazel, how are you?
I'm so great. So happy to be here.
When I first... Hazel was the person who reached out to me. And when she first reached out, I thought she had heard about us through all the interns that work with us, and she said no, and she was happily surprised that I had that connection already. So I'm this is a great coincidence, and really excited to talk about the campaign. But before we do, we want to meet Jessica Wang. Jessica, how are you?
I'm great.
Jessica was sharing with us that you're fairly new to the United States. You immigrated here with your mom about 5 or 6 years ago, you said?
Yes.
Yes. And how do you like Boston?
Only like the weather sometimes is cold, but otherwise than that, I think it's great. And I met like a lot of like amazing people, especially my college journey at Emerson.
Yeah. Jessica's being nice. She said sometimes it's cold. This morning it's very cold. It's very cold here in Boston, and I hadn't been in the studio for 4 or 5 days, so it's especially cold here in my studio, but we're going to warm things up. Catherine, can you talk a little bit about what On the Same Page Boston is?
Sure. In my class, I teach 3 different ways of fundraising. One of them is how to write a grant, and secondly, crowdfunding as a campaign. And then this last thing was I created a digital campaign for my students to run all aspects of the campaign for a partnering Boston Public School. And we've been doing this since 2019, and we are in the end of our 5th year, working now with the Mather School in Dorchester. And so far, around 7,000 books have been donated through the campaign since 2019. So it's a great win-win for the school and for my students.
Now, Hazel, you explained to me in our first communications that Mather is pretty special to you. Why is that?
Yeah, so Mather Elementary School is the first public school ever in the United States. And the kids there are amazing. I just recently, about 2 weeks ago, went and saw a 4th grade class there, and they just have such a light to them. And I was always such a shy child, and none of them were very shy. They were all just so welcoming and so kind. And they absolutely deserve some new books in their library. And the librarian is also just a beam of light, too. Her name is Deborah, and she has just been an amazing person to work with.
That's wonderful. Jessica, can you tell us a little bit about the On the Same Page Boston? What are your goals, and how far along are you?
Our goals is to help, try our best to help all, the Boston public school who doesn't have, a library to donate some book to the kids. And I think, for this semester so far, we did a great, starting. And we had, our lunch party around, November. And it was great. Also, what Hazel mentioned, that's, the time we met the 4th grade students. And they're all, really, really cute. They ask us, a lot of questions. For example, what you guys study in college? And do you guys have, sport requirement? Also, they share their dreams, just like when we were young. Some of them want to be a writer. Some of them want to be, a scientist. And also for all the kids, they're really, diverse. Some of them, from, Asian and, it's just, different race of students. So we especially after we met them, we really want to try our best to help them to donate as much, books as possible, and to kind of use the book to open another window for them, to give them more opportunity to see the world through the book.
Yeah, I love that. Catherine, one of the things I think it was Jessica said that, or it might have been Hazel, but you especially want to reach out and help schools, Boston Public Schools, who don't have libraries. I believe it was a couple of years ago, as one of my Emerson interns shared with me a statistic that she had heard that 40% of the schools in Boston do not have a library in their school. And I can attest to that. My beautiful wife taught in the Boston Public Schools for 34 years. And the last school that she taught at, they quote unquote had a library, but it was in fact a cage, and an aide would sit there and the kids would line up outside the cage. There was no going in and browsing books. The kids would line up outside the cage. The paraprofessional would be inside and just hand kids books as they came. And that's not a library as far as I'm concerned.
No. Well, the Mather School actually has a library,
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very diverse group of kids. They are the only Boston Public School that has a Vietnamese program where it's bilingual. So there's one classroom in each grade, all the way up through 6th grade, that has it's taught bilingual English, Vietnamese. So that's one thing I wanted to say. So they do have a library. However, you're right. That statistic is correct. 40% of Boston public schools do not have a library. And we have worked with schools that didn't have a library. One of them in Brighton did end up with a library after we started. So in some cases, we are starting and building a library for the school. And the superintendent has promised that all the schools will have a library, I think by the end of maybe of 2026, I think. That would be a great goal, because I think having kids browse through with a librarian, especially that is educated in helping kids choose books, explaining why certain books, and working with teachers is important. You know, teachers spend so much of their own money right now to build the materials in their classrooms, and it really shouldn't be that case. I think it should be that, you know, they have enough books to read that are given to the school in other ways. So we're just another way of doing that.
I can attest to that. My beautiful wife, she had a library in her classroom that was very well stocked and was very expensive for us, but it was a wonderful thing. Hey, so tell us a little bit. You're sharing with me that you're a sophomore now at Emerson, so it wasn't that long ago that you were in fourth grade. How important do you think it is for a school to have a library with a librarian?
Yeah, I think it's not only just having a library and a librarian, but also just having books that represent who you are, and reading books and stories that have people who look like you as well. I see, growing up, I had a lot of brothers, so a lot of the books that I had male leads, and like all the heroes were the men. And so when I started babysitting and started reading to children, I always made sure that there was lots of women, strong women in the books that I was reading. Adding on to that, Mather is a very diverse school, and we want to make sure that the books that we're donating represent the students who go there. And I think it's so important at that young age to see people who look like you in powerful positions. And I think it just adds so much character, and it just motivates you so much more. And then as for just having books to read and a library in your school, I think it's crucial. Growing up, I was so fortunate to have a beautiful big library and two amazing librarians in my elementary school. And I just thought it was a thing that everyone had. And it was a very sad and rude awakening when I found out that not every kid gets that. And I will definitely be doing everything I can to change that.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned, the fact that books can be mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. I understand how important it is for kids to see themselves in the pages of books, but I also think it's vitally important, equally important, that kids are able to get a glance into other cultures and see not only how we differ, but mostly how we are all the same, and that we are, in fact, all part of one beautiful human family. Jessica, you were sharing with me earlier that you immigrated from China. I'm curious, in your schools in China, did they have libraries that were well stocked and with great, curious and helpful librarians?
Before middle school, because I went to like a pretty small local like elementary school, we don't really have like a library, but we do, from what I remember, we do have like a reading corner in the back of like the classroom, and with some like books donated by sometimes like teacher or like parents or like some like local business owner. They just want to provide us like more books to read. And I think that is always like my favorite memory when I was young. They're not only like Chinese book, we also have some like English book, like maybe translate in like a Chinese version. And I felt from those books, it's really like bringing me like another world. Like maybe it's like an unreal world. It's like an imagination, but it's give me the opportunity to see like another side of like the world. So I'm really, really appreciate that. And start middle school, we start have like a big library with library from also like with the people who work at the library. I from that part of the memory, it teach me how to kind of do more research to find the exactly book that I want. And like what Hazel said, I got like more book options to choose. I can find the character who like me, and I can find myself as one of the main character in the book.
I love that. We're talking here about On the Same Page Boston, and you're collecting books. I imagine that you didn't have Hazel reach out to me just to kind of brag, oh, look at the neat thing we're doing here at Emerson. I'm imagining you want people to help out. How can they help out?
Well, there are two ways. Right now, the campaign that started November 5th is actually ending on December 5th. You can go to onthesamepageboston.org, and there's a big red donate button right at the top, which will bring you right to the curated list of books to donate on Amazon. The faculty and the librarian at the Mather School curated the list. We're just sharing what they built. Every spring semester, which will be coming up next semester for us, not with the same students working on it, will be a gently used book campaign in which Tate Bakery and Cafes in Boston are my partner. And they have bins out to collect gently used books for the elementary school that are age appropriate. And then they collect them all and donate them to the school and bring them over for us. So they're a wonderful partner and a way for the public to support. So there's two ways. There's first this way, which is running right now through December 5th, of doing an online campaign and sending books through Amazon directly to the Mather School. There are books as little as $7 all the way up probably to $20. So you can make an impact just by sending one book. And then if you have books that you're cleaning your shelves off, of your kids are older, they've moved out, certainly keep a box of those books available to drop off at a Tate Bakery or Cafe in the spring. And we'll be letting the public know when that campaign starts at that time.
Yeah. And Hazel, will the books that are donated be part of the library, or will kids get a chance to own them themselves?
They will be a part of the library, but you can check them out with Deborah, the librarian, and they could take them home, share them with their parents or siblings and stuff. So that's our goal too, is making sure they can take them home and share them with their parents or their guardians, so then they can build that connection as well.
Wonderful. And Jessica, any idea of how far along we are towards meeting your goal?
Our goal is to have like 500 books, which each of the student can have one books. And right now, I think we have over 100 books. Is that right?
Well, actually, I was going to update the class tomorrow. Right now, we have 220 books that have been donated. I think it's tough because we had a holiday in between. We had the election at the beginning. So I'm hoping in this last week, people will lift that number a little bit more to hopefully get us closer to at least 400.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Is there a website, Hazel? Is there a website or anything that we can visit to find out more about On the Same Page Boston?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just On the Same Page Boston, and there's a big donate button right on the front page. We also have an Instagram, which is just On the Same Page Boston, a LinkedIn, and a Facebook page, all just On the Same Page Boston. We post updates on there twice a week, and there's also links to the website on all of those pages as well.
Yeah. And just because I'm very curious, Jessica, you shared with us that you're going to be graduating in the spring. What kind of goals do you have for after graduation?
So far, I kind of give myself like two choice on the two side. One side I'm trying to like apply some like grad student like program, and another hand I'm also trying to find some interns, but it's more focused on like nonprofit education. I will say like this nonprofit minor is really lead me to this point. I really have the passion, want to work like for like some nonprofit and focus on maybe education and health in the future, because I really feel like I want to use what I learned from college maybe in the future at grad school to help more people in the society that need help, because I feel like I'm already like the lucky one. I got an opportunity to study in both countries, like China and the States. And over the summer, I also sometimes have the opportunity to study like in Europe. And I feel like also like that's what my mom told me. If I'm the lucky one, what I can do the best is to help the people who is not as lucky as I am, and to make other people's life better. And I felt like to help people right now, it also make me happy. So
I love that. What a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. Hey, so what about you? What are your goals? If you're a few years off from graduation, but what are you hoping to do?
I definitely want to work with middle and high schoolers eventually. And I worked for the National Student Leadership Conference over the summer, which is just basically an academic summer camp that helps high schoolers get ready for college. And in my free time working there, I worked with a lot of high schoolers, just helping them find what college is right for them. And that whole process, especially with first-gen college applicants, I would love to just make that process a lot easier in my future. So that's looking a little further, but I would love just to work with younger kids.
Wonderful. And Catherine, why don't we give you a chance to tell everybody how awesome Emerson College is?
I think you can tell by these two students as examples of how fortunate I am to teach at Emerson. This is my 20th year teaching full-time, and these two students, I think, symbolize exactly the type of student that makes teaching there so wonderful for me. They're energetic, they're passionate, they're enthusiastic, and they're so smart. And I'm a lucky teacher, I think, to have students like Hazel and Jessica.
Well, I shared with Hazel when we first started communicating that it was another local college reached out to me to see if I would take interns, consider having interns work on the podcast. Since I started working with the students at Emerson College, we've said goodbye to the other colleges, and I only work with Emerson students now because there's just no comparison. It's I find them wonderfully, like you said, passionate, intelligent, and really eager to work. On the Same Page Boston is the website onthesamepage.boston.com?
.org.
.org. Okay, check it out. What a wonderful thing, and what a great school to be associated with, the Mather School. I've had a chance to perform there in the past. Great group of kids, great group of teachers. We've had a great time speaking to the team behind On the Same Page Boston. Our guests have been Catherine Edelstein, Hazel Fitzpatrick, and Jessica Wang. My friends, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. In the meantime, please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and at Jedly Magic on Twitter. And of course, we'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, wherever you find your favorite shows. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Jed Bernard. Please be sure to check out Jeddy's Teddy. Also want to thank the amazing team from Emerson College's On the Same Page Boston Initiative. I want to thank my team here at Reading With Your Kids, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, our amazing intern from Emerson College this semester, Rayling Tang. I also want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.